What's up guys, it's me Rhoku back with some early content, and this is a predictive top lane tier list for patch 12.10, the champion durability update. This video is basically me talking about how every single champion is going to love or hate the changes that are coming in patch 12.10. And for those of you who don't know, patch 12.10 is the champion durability update, where Riot has added health, armor, MR to every single champion in the game, and nerf things like heals, shields, and just, like it's kind of a complicated patch. I've made a video on it for the full change list, so go check it out if you want to see everything. But for now, we're going to basically go over this tier list. First off, Fiora. Fiora is going to absolutely love the 12.10 patch because, well, every single stat that everybody else is getting are things she kind of directly counters with her passive, which gives her percentage health to damage. Like, you can't actually do anything to counter percentage health to damage, and it's basically her getting the same base stats as everybody, but she counters those stats, so she makes way more use of them, whereas everybody else does not. So Fiora is going to be the best champion in the entire game following this patch. This patch, nice, right? Riven's going to take actually a big hit because of these changes. Like, finally, Riven's been more powerful for such a long time. Basically speaking, two reasons, right? Number one, Ignite is going to be far less valuable in the new patch because everybody's getting base health, so people have more health to basically survive Ignite's damage. And Riot is also nerfing the Grievous Wounds from 60% to 50%, so Ignite is taking a massive hit, and Riven is one of these champions that kind of relies on Ignite to actually win lanes. Without Ignite, Riven can't actually put up good fights against a lot of these champions because, to really get into the position to do her max damage, to just one-shot someone, Riven has to just give it her all. And if that's not enough to kill the enemy, she's in a very bad position to either die or just, she's pushed her lane to the point where she's just going to get ganked and killed. Also, Riven kind of plays like an assassin. She just relies on one-shotting people, so she's going to take a big hit in terms of that as well. Overall, Riven's going to drop back down to the regular overpowered territory. Yeah, she's just regular broken now. So yeah, let's get right into the other champions. Akshan. Now, Akshan is a ranged top laner, and ranged top laners are going to love these changes a lot more than the rest of these champions. Now, you might think that, hey, because everybody gets more health to kind of sustain the poke from the ranged champions, they're all getting more powerful, and ranged top laners are weaker, but you also have to understand that ranged tops get those stats as well. And the thing with ranged top laners, their big weakness is that, yeah, it does suck that they're outraging and poking you, but if you get on top of them, then they don't have actually the stats and the strength to really weather out a proper full fight against a lot of these champions. But now they kind of do, right? So in my opinion, Akshan is going to love this patch a lot. But, he's going to love it in lane. But because, the game is going to be a lot less kill reliant, I think he's going to be dropping back down to powerful. Because Akshan is, the reason he's overpowered isn't because of top lane, it's because of the rest of the game, right? Because right now, the game is so, just get a bunch of kills, get fed, and then run around one-shot everybody on the entire map, right? That's why Akshan is so powerful, because he doesn't have to just, stay in top lane and fight you. He can just roam bot lane, into the jungle, mid lane, wherever, and just lap up kills. So I would say, in terms of laning, Akshan's going to be a bit more powerful, but that wasn't his strength, right? His strength was roaming around and just getting kills. Because of that being nerfed, I'll actually put him down to A tier, right? Just straight up put him down into the lower tier. Because his overall play style, which is running around, getting kills, is getting a big nerf. Camille. I think Camille's going to like this patch. She's obviously not going to get into a higher tier, in my opinion, but she is going to be a big benefactor of this patch because, not because of her true damage or anything, but because Camille isn't the strongest early game champion. So her getting a bit more stats to work with means that she's actually going to be able to survive longer in lane to get to her power spikes. She has some of the strongest one-item power spikes in the entire game when she gets Triforce or Divine Sunder because of how much she can proc her Sheen. So yeah, she's just going to be a bit stronger than before because her roadmap to getting to her power spikes is going to be a bit shorter. This is going to be a big nerf to the whole cheesy Grasp Ignite Camille playstyle. Everyone's going to go back to playing it flash teleport to just survive, but surviving is going to be way more possible due to the nerfs to Ignite and everything else. Overall, I think she's going to remain in powerful, but she could potentially go up to overpowered. I'm not too sure. I'll put her in overpowered just because she's getting the things she wants to get to the part of the game that she wants to be in, right? Darius is going to absolutely love these changes. Fights are longer, Ignite's getting nerfed. A lot of the champions that beat him rely on Ignite to beat him, and they're not going to be able to do that anymore. So Darius is going to be absolutely loving this like new patch. One bad thing for him is that like because we're heading into a bot-sided meta, playing Darius is just going to be a pain because like when we're in a bot-sided meta, top lane always gets weak-sided, and when Darius is like, you know, camped, he's just going to get absolutely shredded by the enemy top jungles. He's not very good at fighting off junglers anymore. So in terms of that, it isn't like a complete positive for him, but he's going to be way more powerful than before. Irelia. I would say that like Irelia is going to... I'd say Irelia is going to be in a similar position as before. Obviously, she's going to be weaker than she used to be because of the nerfs to Ignite. She is one of those champions that relied on Ignite to just cheese kills in lane with just some BS. But the thing with Irelia is that, like, a lot of her strength is that, like, when she gets her Bork and stuff, she does just absolutely kill you even though she's behind. And I don't think that the added durability changes are going to weaken that power spike at all. So she's going to remain right here in the powerful tier. Jax. I'd say that Jax is going to, like... Okay, let's just think about this. Jax doesn't really build anything that helps him get his health a lot, but Jax absolutely loves longer fights because it gets him more ability, more like... Jax's DPS is one of the highest in top lane, simply because if you just like get him with lethal tempo and he just keeps wailing at you, he just can get a lot more auto attacks off. And once he gets like level 6 with his passive and then gets some items, he's just gonna be unstoppable. And with more HP, because like one of Jax's weaknesses is just getting through laning phase, right? Laning with Jax is not that easy, and unless you pick him into a counter pick, like you pick him into Darius, you just kill him. You can't really do that into every single champion. So, like, basically speaking, the extra stats are going to give him what he needs to basically, like, go over, like, bypass some of his weaker positions, which is, like, in earlier lane. So Jax is going to love this. Kind of the same-ish as Camille, where they need to get going to be useful, right? And, like, they've given these stats, which helps him get going, basically, right? Jace. I would say Jace is going to remain in the same-ish position. Like, he has range, he has a bunch of poke. The way he's powerful in the game is, like, you know, it's just like, I don't think the durability changes are going to impact how, like, whether he's going to be like weaker or stronger. He's going to have the same stats as everybody else, but he still has the ability to just chunk off people with amazing trades and just not take any damage. So I'd say Jace is going to be in a similar position. He's going to be a bit better when he's behind because, you know, if he's behind, like, God, how you can get behind as Jace, it's just a miracle. But if you do get behind as Jace, where the game is slowing down, he can get more opportunities to basically stack up his Eclipse and then stack up the Man Immune and then still get back into the game. So that's going to be good for him. If he's ahead, he's going to be even more powerful because with the one-shotty meta now, like, being phased out with these nerfs, just champions running around killing each other nonstop, Jace is going to kind of love it because top lane is like the role that benefits the least from the one-shotty meta because like everybody's running around getting kills faster, they're doing everything better than you, and you can't impact the game because, like, let's say your mid laner loses, then the enemy mid laner is going to kill everybody to the point where even if you do win top lane, you're basically fighting an entire enemy team who have a ton of kills because that's just it. You get one kill and they snowball like crazy. With a snowball being slowed down, it's like a general buff to top lane because you can basically more consistently win lane and then carry, and Jace is going to be no different. Ornn. Maybe it's going to be a bit harder for Ornn to get kills in lane because he has to get a lot more poke out, but I feel like he's going to be in a similar position, so Ornn remains here for now as a very, very powerful, solid pick. Shen. Shen hasn't been that good for... I mean, he's been really powerful, but I kind of overrated how powerful he was. I put him into S tier, even though he basically belonged into A+ tier. Now that I've made that distinction, I can more accurately display his strength. But yeah, Shen is in powerful tier. He's still pretty strong in that, like, because we're heading into a bot lane meta, he might sneak his way into the overpowered tier. That is very much a possibility, right? He's not going to be, like, that strong in lane because Shen kind of relies on cheesing kills before 6. But once level 6, like, arrives, Shen just basically dies to everybody because everybody gets combat ultimates, whereas Shen just gets his teleport. So Getting lane dominance with Shen is going to be a bit harder, but because of where the meta is going, he's going to be a way stronger. So I'd say I'll put him, like, I'm not too decided on where he's going to be. I'm not too sure, so I'll put him back down in a powerful tier. But there's a very good chance he just gets into the overpowered tier. It all depends on how like much the meta shifts into a bot lane like focused meta. Sion actually took a massive nerf from the 12.9 changes. He's one of the champions impacted by the nerfs. The nerfs to his passive don't really actually mean anything. The biggest nerf is to Hullbreaker, where the Hullbreaker doesn't actually do damage on the demolish. That's like an absolutely huge nerf to him, and it also like is more backloaded with the stats it gives. It doesn't give stats earlier on. Like it doesn't give that much stats earlier on. It just gives like 10 armor magic resist until you hit like level 10 or so, which is not great. So Sion is not going to be that powerful as before. This is for 12.9, okay, for our current patch. So he's going down here into A tier. I'll put him down here with Akshan. Tryndamere. I would say Tryndamere is going to remain in powerful. He's one of the champions where A+ tier kind of helped me better display his level of strength, because like I put him in overpowered tier with all these champions, but he basically was a bit less but a bit more than strong. So yeah. In terms of whether he's going to love or hate the changes, I would say he's going to actually like the changes, because the changes have nerfed earlier game champions and have buffed champions who need to get going, like your Jaxes, your Camille's. So I would say that Tryndamere is going to love those, but like it's going to be an overall buff, but it's not going to be a buff to the point where he's going to move an entire tier like these champions. So he's going to remain down here as like, like as strong as he used to be. Remember, the entire game is changing, so I have to do these things in a way where I can kind of accurately measure how strong they are relative to each other, right? So it's like to consider everything with every single move. Okay, we're now done with A+ powerful tier. Let's move down into the strong tier. These are the champions that I moved. Aatrox. Now, Aatrox is going to be overpowered straight up because of these changes, because like they did nerf healing and they did nerf grievous wounds. So it's like you might think that because there's less healing in the game, the champions that rely on healing are going to be weaker, but that's basically false. If the fight lasts longer, there are more opportunities to cast healing abilities. There are more opportunities to like damage people and get lifesteal. And Aatrox is going to love these because fights longer, more damage from him, more heals from him. So he is going to be absolutely overpowered in my opinion in the next patch, like really, really, really strong. Gangplank. I would say Gangplank is going to like the changes to an extent. It's just that like a lot of the champions that are getting stronger just destroy him, right? So it's like it's going to be a bit harder for him to play the lane out if someone picks up like a Fiora or a Jax or something, but he does benefit from overall where the meta is going, so he's going to remain in A tier as usual. Garen. I'm pretty sure Garen is going to start getting outclassed by some of the champions that actually scale like monsters, actually. And because, of the health buffs and also the ignite nerfs, Garen is not going to be able to cheese kills in lane anymore. Like, Garen is also one of those champions where he needs ignite to get kills. Without ignite, he can't actually secure kills level 6 as, as consistently anymore. So that's a big hit to his way to call back into the game if he lost early levels. He does kind of get going after he gets a few items, but he doesn't exactly scale. And also, Garen is a big benefitter, underrated, but he's a big benefitter over the run-around one-shot meta, because with Garen, if you have the macro knowledge and the vision control to do it, you just basically run around the enemy jungle, find people to kill, and just run with your Q move speed. You can't just do that as much anymore, so I feel like if we're considering higher elo gameplay, Garen is going to take a nerf, so he's going to go back down into B tier, good/situational. Gragas. Gragas is here because he's just really good at trading into a lot of these champions, and that is not really going to change. He's going to be just as good as before. He's obviously not going to be able to like cheese kills as often anymore. Everybody gets more health to work with, so like the amount of poke you have to get after like the patch might be a bit too much to do reasonably. So I don't think he's going to be like the champion you pick to get fed and stuff, but he's still going to be the premier weak side pick, where first pick where it's like you pick him and it's like nigh impossible to counter pick you. Gwen. This is actually an interesting champion to think about. Gwen, I feel like Gwen is gonna sort of like the changes because she's like a scaler, right? She does scale into the later portions of the game. But Gwen also relies on Ignite to actually get kills. Gwen can't do anything without Ignite into a lot of these champions, right? Level 6, like, she has one of the most powerful level 6, like, power spikes in the entire game. She can just, like, win almost any all-in if she lands all of her ultimates with Ignite. But with that being gone, like, she might have a bit, like, some difficulty getting kills in lane and just, getting kills when, like, she's strong. So I'd say she remains here in A tier, right? Not too much mobility for her. Pantheon. Pantheon does rely on Ignite to get kills. He also doesn't scale that well, so the patch benefits one-shotters, assassinate boys, and he's not one of them. And I don't think Pantheon gets anything good from this patch, so he's gonna go back down to, not back down, just down to B tier in my opinion. Let's make this a bit more, better looking. Quinn, she's a ranged top laner. Her roams are still gonna be good, but like, roaming is not as strong as before, right? So it's like, trying to think. Her roaming is going to be a bit weaker, but she's also going to be way stronger in lane. So I'll put her in A plus tier, actually, right? Because Akshan and Quinn are like two different sides of like the same-ish coin, whereas it's like roaming or laning, right? Akshan is better at roaming, and Quinn is better at laning. So I'd say, like, because of that, Quinn... Actually, not really, because once you get level 6, some of these champions just absolutely destroy you, so... no. She's gonna stay in A tier. Like, she does get more, like, things to basically bully her opponents into level 6, but, like, once the Aurelia and stuff, they get their ultimates or whatever, it's just not gonna be feasible to try to get kills and, like, try to win all-ins. And with the roaming playstyle nerfed, it's gonna be somewhat harder for her to get kills outside of the lane. Okay, who's left? Renekton. They actually buffed Renekton slightly. Those buffs aren't really going to do too much for him. In terms of his, like, I don't think Renekton is impacted too much because of these changes, right? With enough skill, you can win early as Renekton and just scale up to be a monster and try to 1v9. He also builds Bork, and you can use Bork to kind of bypass some of the health buffs. But, like, I don't think the changes are going to, like I said, impact him too much. Trundle. I feel like Trundle is going to be just as strong as he used to be. I don't know if he's going to, like, get into some of these higher tiers, because, like his 1v1 is quite good, but, like, if he gets collapsed on, which he can easily get collapsed on, he just gets destroyed, right? Like, I'd say the only thing Trundle does later on into the portions of the game is just, like, split push really well, right? But with Hullbreaker being nerfed, that might be not as much of an option. His level 1 is still going to be devastating, but, earlier fights are just not going to be as important as before, so there's that to consider as well. I'm not too sure about Trundle, honestly. I don't know enough about, like the champion, literally, and how he interacts with the game. I would say that he's going to be a bit weaker than before, but again, right? Like, if you know anybody who plays Trundle and is high elo, I'll defer the knowledge to them. Wukong. I'd say Wukong is going to be slightly stronger than before. He does, like, need to survive until level 6 to really hit his level 6 power spike, which is one of the most powerful in the game, by the way. But surviving until then is an issue for Wukong if you don't play him into a matchup that he can just kill with his, level 1 cheese auto attacks. So, yeah. He's going to remain at the same level of power as before. Yone. Yone, I would say, is going to... I am not too sure about this either, because the fact that he gets more health to survive until later does help him, right? But, does it help him enough to overcome the power spikes of some of these champions? I really don't think so. And also with Yone, it's like, he's kind of... He does get stronger the longer the fight goes on, but, like, some of these champions get way stronger the longer fight goes on, so he might not be able to put up a good fight against them. I'd say he stays in A tier, possibly drops down to B tier depending on, which one of these champions ends up being stronger, because, some of these champions have better matchups into him. Okay, we're dropping back down to B tier. Let's go. Akali. I'd say that Akali is going to be nerfed in that she's not going to be able to cheese kills in lane anymore. She does rely on Ignite to get kills. You just can't do that anymore with Akali. So I would say that overall, she's going to be a bit weaker in terms of laning. But because she gets more health to work with, she's going to have a some more secure route to her level 6 power spike. And that's what Akali's gameplay is mostly about, just getting to that level 6 power spike and just, killing people with it. She's going to remain here, in my opinion. It's not too much of a mobility for her in terms of between the tiers. Cho'Gath, I think tanks in general who can't really lane too well are going to be overall stronger, because we are just nerfing some of, like, we're nerfing Ignite, we're nerfing the early game, fights. So Cho'Gath is going to have more time to basically get going, get his stacks going, just survive with his passive, and just, get into the stronger portions of the game where he's just this monster that eats people. But I don't think that's enough to get him into the A tier. Also, I might just put Sion down. Nah, I'll keep him here. Because, like, they didn't actually nerf. All they nerfed was him taking Demolish. He can still do the same split pushy stuff. Just not as strong. Kayle. Interesting, but I think Kale's going to be really strong because of these changes. Because, like, more health for her is just, like, way better, right? She gets a bit more of a secured route to her power spikes, right? So, yeah. Kayle is going to love these changes. Kled. The thing with Kled is that, like, he's going to have so much base HP, but one of the Kled's, like, strength is that because he has so much base stats, he just benefits from that. He benefits from how much stats he has compared to other champions, right? He just has more stats than anybody. With everybody getting the same amount of stats, he comparatively benefits, like, the least from them. I think he has, like, the highest amount of health in the game, but I'm not too sure. But, like his advantage of just having more stats than everybody is a bit nullified. And he's not exactly a scaler. You do have to cheese a bunch of kills to get ahead with him. So he's not going to move too much between the tiers. Mordekaiser. This is actually kind of interesting. I'd say Mordekaiser is going to basically be in the same-ish position, right? He is a bit of like I need to get my items to be useful kind of champion. But, like, then again, like, he doesn't actually scale too well into some champions. They just kind of destroy him in lane. And also, like, he only scales to, like, he gets his first item and then he's powerful enough to actually make a difference, but then he doesn't actually scale too well into late game like your Camille's and stuff. So there's that to think about as well. Obviously he's going to remain in this tier as usual. Not as usual, he's here because of the Mooseby buffs, but he's going to remain in the same tier. Rengar, I don't see too many changes for him, right? He is going to be nerfed in that his ability to just cheese BS kills earlier gun is going to get, nerfed. So there's that to consider into some of those matchups. But I don't think, like, he's just going to be able to do the same exact things, like, the same way, just the same tier. Rumble. Rumble's going to get nerfed, actually, because with more HP, people are just going to be able to sustain through his poke. That's just the thing with Rumble. His poke is just way too much. He has a lot of poke. And sometimes he can just one-shot people, but with more health, that ability just goes down. So he's going to get nerfed a tiny bit. Urgot. I would say that Urgot gets buffed by this, but I'm kind of hesitant because, like, he does need Ignite to get kills. Like, Urgot without Ignite is not a threat at all. And I'm not too sure how well he does into the champions that are going to be benefiting off of these changes. Like, he does get outranged by Aatrox and stuff. I think he gets destroyed by Fiora. Like, because, like, his charge up is, like, not instant. Fiora can just riposte it every time. And she can also riposte his... Yeah, I think Fiora just completely hard counters him. Yeah, now that I think about it, Fiora completely hard counters him. So, I don't think Urgot's going to lower the patch in terms of, like, the matchups he hates are just going to get that much stronger. Yorick. Yorick did get hit by the Hullbreaker nerfs. And also, like, I think Yorick's going to be a bit stronger. He's going to be a bit stronger because, like, with Yorick, you just want to get to the point of the game where you've killed the first turret and you can just side lane, right? And getting to that position is going to be a bit easier. He does suffer the same problems as he used to, so he's not going to overcome them because of the patch. He's just going to be just as strong as before. Mundo. Yeah, he's just going to be a lane holder as usual, nothing different. Gnar. I don't think Gnar's position is going to change all that much. Same old, just lane holder. And I'm pretty sure with some of these champions getting stronger, he's not going to like it one bit. Graves. I'd say Graves is going to be in the same-ish position. Nothing too different. I'm pretty sure Karma or like shield supports in general are going to be stronger. Because like, more opportunities for shielding. Karma just wastes time. So she's still a lane holder, but consider her like, a bit stronger than a lane holder. Vladimir. I'm pretty sure Vladimir is gonna get buffed. Like, it depends. I haven't seen what they've nerfed in the durability update because they have just gone through every champion and nerfed their healing, right? I've only read some of them, like for Darius and stuff. But like with Vladimir, they nerfed a lot for like a lot of his abilities for the durability update. So like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna remain in the same-ish position. But again, longer fights means you can't one-shot Vladimir, because that used to be one of the ways you could actually beat him, right? If he messed up, you could get a quick combo off and just kill him before you could get his ult heal off or whatever. I don't think you can do that as, consistently anymore. So he's going to be the same old solid lane holder. Cassio, same-ish. Kennen. I'd say also the same, but there is room for him to get to B tier. Malphite, just here as a counter pick. Nasus, same, here as a counter pick. I mean, you can obviously play him in low elo, but if we're talking playing as actual humans, the base stats aren't going to help him be like some kind of early game monster. He's still going to be bullyable. And he doesn't have range to work with, so yeah. Poppy, counter pick. Vayne, ooh. Vayne is going to be just straight up a menace in the top lane. Like, you just can't fight her anymore. Her true damage just goes through everything. And I feel like even if she does lose lane and get camped, she's just going to get like 2 items and just start 1v9ing anyway, right? Vayne is going to have to get nerfed majorly to actually be balanced. Like, she's going to be arguably one of the strongest ADCs in the game. And because of that power, she's going to be also strong in the top lane. So if you're a Darius player, definitely recommend banning Vayne. Volibear. I don't think Volibear is going to be benefiting too much from these changes, right? Like, he's not a scaler. He actually needs to be picked into the right matchup, get kills, and then we'll get going. And, that's not changing, is it? Illaoi, nothing changing too much. Teemo, nothing changing here. Lucian, same. I don't think Singe is going to change all that much either. Not him either. Tom is a bit interesting because he does have a lot of shields and stuff, and they're going to get nerfed. But, because their fights are longer and Tom can just spam shields constantly, he might be a bit stronger. So I'll put him into, like, he is kind of like a lane holder. I'll put him in the counter pick. Because if you do pick him into the right champion and win lane, you can be an unkillable monster. But yeah, Tom's getting stronger. Doesn't matter. Maokai might claw back into the game, but I don't think it matters too much. Olaf. Okay, yeah, I forgot to talk about this, but I'm pretty sure Olaf goes up into B tier. I hesitate to put him any higher because in the games I've had Olaf, he kind of suffers the same weaknesses. Like, if you just, like, before, when the ult was 5 seconds and you pop it, you can just kind of run up on the enemy and just kill them. But because it runs out in 2.5 seconds, if anybody is more mobile than you and they just like cross over a wall, then you're just done, right? Because nobody plays them with flash. So like you run up on someone and they just flash over a wall. That's it. You're useless, right? Once your ult is gone, you're very useless with Olaf and you can't even do anything. So there's that to think about. He's mostly useful against specific comps where they're really frontline heavy, right? Like their strength is just with big tanks and just having a lot of frontliners, which is a lot of people for Olaf to auto attack. But if he's up against a mobile composition, he just gets countered and destroyed. Not to mention how Olaf is absolutely just countered by Zhonya's Hourglass. Like, he's completely countered. So any champion that builds it, or if you just want to beat him, just get stopwatch and you absolutely destroy him, because the stasis lasts 2.5 seconds, as does his ultimate. So Olaf gets one auto attack off. When he's about to get the next one, then he's Zhonya's. And by the time that the Zhonya's is over, his ult just runs out. So, like, he still runs into the same-ish problems. He does have a, a consistent role of, like, hey, I'm going to counter frontline heavy compositions. I think he's a great pick for that, just to have in your back pocket as a top laner. He's also quite, like, simple to play. It's not really difficult in any way. So, like, you can just have him in your back pocket, like I said, just to pick. But, you know, he's not going to be the most overpowered champion in the game. By no means. Rise, same. Silas, he's there to counter Malphite. Warwick, same. Yasuo, same. I think we're basically finished. Yeah. Okay, everybody, that's pretty much it for my predictive tier list for patch 12.10, the durability update. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.